to another Keeping It Real episode. I'm super excited to be guest hosting today because I get to talk to an incredible real estate leader, marketer, thinker, and of course, salesperson, and my good friend, Stephanie Jones. And I can't wait for you to learn more about her, as well as what she's been up to in a year that's been both really, really difficult and also phenomenally rewarding. So enough about me for now. Stephanie Jones from Northern Michigan, but I'll let you explain what Northern Michigan means in your context. Welcome to Keeping It Real.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Thanks for having me. I'm excited, and you're constantly pushing me out of my comfort zone here. So.
You wanted to do this. You wanted to be on.
Oh, yeah. I was definitely a volunteer.
Yeah, you made me do this. No, well, somewhat reluctantly, Stephanie has agreed to join us, and you'll love her humility, but also her power and her amazing ability to do what she does, and her generosity in sharing what hopefully you can take some nuggets away from this and use. So let me just bounce it back to you real quick, Stephanie, and say, just tell everybody exactly where you are, and then we'll all get angry at you and be envious. And then, well, let's just start there. Where are you and what does your business look like just as far as who you work with and where?
Yeah, sure. So I'm located in Northern Michigan. The city's proper name is Petoskey. I live in a resort within Petoskey called Bay Harbor. So it's a coastal, like little nook of Lake Michigan. It's a small town, and there's only, so from everyone else that's listening that comes from like really large markets, in our market, we only have about 400 realtors that practice as like everyday kind of jobs. So yeah, small town living, slower pace of life. So it's, Michigan looks kind of like a mitten. So this is upper Michigan and lower.
But so not the upper peninsula.
But not the upper peninsula. Yeah. So I'm in a small town in Northern Michigan. And it's a really seasonal area. So, Montana will laugh when I say that we have skiing because they're not mountains technically, but we have skiing. And then the biggest tourism is like bike riding and boating and all that kind of good stuff for the summertime.
So for those of you that just Googled Bay Harbor, Michigan, join me in my sinful anger and envy of Stephanie and where she lives and what she calls work, because
it's an incredible place.
Now I've gotten to know Stephanie and Jeff and their crew over the last few years, and there is legitimately some borderline sinful envy because they live in this incredible place, but there are challenges, right? So for as long as you really want to, can you just tell us really quickly what your business looked like, let's say a year to 2 years ago? What was kind of the last cycle before this current one? What did things look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say for the longest time, there's two different groups here. So there are definitely people that have families and are raising their children here. And there's people that are born and raised here and then get married and continue to do the same thing. And then we had a separate market that was much more of like second home buyers. So some of those people would only spend 4 weeks a summer here. Some of them would spend 4 months. So for previous to, COVID is like the key word here. Previous to COVID, the market was different with the demographics that were purchasing. So you, like I said, you had people that did live here year round, and then you had vacationers. Now that market has shifted dramatically, and I attribute it to about 4 different things. I really think people, when COVID hit and they were stuck in their homes for that first initial 6 weeks, They started looking around and really, having serious conversations with their partners and families about how they wanted to live their life. Mm-hmm. And there really isn't a better place to do it than here. I hate to I know I'm on this.
But here in Dallas, we have the I don't know, sports. What do we have?
Yeah. And that's the one thing we're lacking. We don't have, a huge, I grew up watching the Detroit Red Wings and the Lions. We don't have that. It's a 4-hour drive for us to go see, a big professional team play. So that's one thing that we don't have, but we do have, clean water and access to a ton of lakes. Not only do you have Lake Michigan, where you could have a 150-foot yacht come in and travel, from the BVI's all the way here. You also have lakes that you have 18-foot pontoon boats or speed boats. So there's all different kind of recreation here. And what we saw from COVID was people decided how they wanted to live and what felt right for their family or themselves, and jobs were changing. And now you can work from home where you couldn't do that before. So previous to COVID, a lot of the second home buyers were people that were planning for retirement or had just retired. And they said, like, I want to get a place. We're thinking about retiring, but we want to have our kids come up and go skiing. So that was really a large percentage of the market that I handled. And now it's really fun because we have our hospital just expanded to like a level 2 trauma center, which was a big deal for us because now there are certain things that don't have to get airlifted out. So that's just changed the market, and nurses and doctors coming.
Let me call a quick timeout for those that are watching or listening wherever you're consuming this. Couple nuggets that I want to pull out of there for people to be able to pay attention to. Number one, there are some small town elements to Stephanie's market. So if you're in a smaller market, pay close attention. There are some seasonal market elements for sure to Stephanie's market. So pay attention to that. There's also the out of town buyer element, but there's also a second whole market community to the permanent resident. And we'll get to it in a minute, but those price points are pretty different.
Yeah.
And then let me just sort of early lightning round a few questions for everybody else's clarity. Are you a solo team, brokerage? What's your business model?
I am a solo agent. I'm a broker, but okay. I work for a small boutique firm.
Okay. You operate as a solo agent.
Solo agent. I don't have a showing agent. I don't have a buyer's agent. I don't have anyone like that on my team. Okay. I am the sales part of it.
And do you have numbers in front of you where you could show us kind of what did 2020 look like?
2020 would have been
whichever number you want to share, sales volume, GCI, whichever one.
2020, I think I did 22 million in sales volume.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, by herself, 22 million in sales volume. Okay, 2021.
I think we got to like 28.
And 2022.
Okay, no, I'm sorry, I'm skipping. So where I'll end for 22 is different. 2021, 38.
There you go. There it is.
38.
From 20-ish to 40-ish, give or take however you want to do the math. So basically doubled your total sales volume, and you can tell as much or as little as you want about your profitability and your commissions and things.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take a quick pause and just let everybody know that Stephanie is also speaking at the user conference, which is less than 2 weeks away. She's actually speaking 2 weeks from yesterday, so Wednesday of the event. And we'll get into the nitty gritty of all the details and everything there. So we want to cover the story and the change, and there's plenty of takeaways today. And then at the event, we'll get into technicality, what you did and why and when and where and how and all that kind of stuff. And we have some questions coming in already, so we'll get to those in a minute. But so you basically doubled your total sales volume in about a year. And then how are things, obviously this year's plenty of year left, but how is this year looking?
So it's not going to double from 40 to 80. I'm going to be lucky if I hit the 40, but I'm coming in at, right now I'm at 22, but have some big stuff pending. So it'll be close. This year was much harder just due to our inventory. I mean,
when you're a secondary market for the bulk of your volume, and when you're dealing with the aftermath of COVID, plus interest rates, plus a potential somewhat return to normalcy, like some of that drive and supply and demand just changes. But what I want people to hear is that, and I'm about to ask you some questions to explain some other aspects of your business, but give or take, 5 or 10%, you doubled your business in 1 year.
Yeah. And I can add to that, Todd, with the Real Geek stuff is I've only been a Real Geeks user for 5 years.
Yep.
And I won't say it because I want to be completely transparent about it. When I joined, I was doing everything that I could to keep up. And then when I joined and had like it was my first time I had an actual CRM. Right. That alone made me double back then from, I think I was 8.5 and I went to 16 the first year. Beautiful. And so it's literally doubling every year to year and a half.
So what I hope people hear, and then I want to get into some nitty gritty, but is Stephanie is gifted and talented and in a great market, but some of these things are not because of those things, right? You just going from hustling and winging it to organizing somewhat within a CRM platform allowed you to be twice as efficient or twice as productive, however you want to look at that.
Yeah, it was huge.
And then what was the big change, the last doubling from 20 to 21? What do you think were at least, some of the causes of going from 20 to 40 million?
I mean, there's always going to be like the sales and the hustle in there. I'm not going to like necessarily discount that, but I also think that when you are growing and you're building relationships, which is what I love to pride myself on with all of my clients. I want every single one of my clients to say, when they hear my name or like, do you know her? Say, oh my God, we love her. She was so good. She did this, this, and this. Like, that's my thing. And what I felt like was happening is the more and more homes I sold to people and clients were referring me, I didn't want to lose that. And I couldn't keep track of it just in my brain. So putting the stuff into the Real Geeks for me was not letting the little stuff slip by, which then it adds up. So it was one of those things where getting organized with it was much better. That kind of piece. I think that's really what it was. I mean, obviously COVID created like a pent up demand for us because in Michigan, particularly, we were a state that could not put, and it was insane. We could not put a sign in the ground. Yep. We could not practice real estate. And if one of us did, it was being reported. It was just.
So that I actually want to zero in on that. And that's where some of my questions are. Mm-hmm. I know more of your story than maybe you want to share here. So your call, but.
No, it's okay. It's an open book. I want to be able to help however I can.
Beautiful, beautiful. So yes, you did. We all had some element of a COVID bounce after we all had a COVID kick in the teeth. But I think you had more challenges than opportunities last year from a traditional standpoint, right? So the state or real estate commission pretty much told you that you can't work for a bigger chunk of the year than a lot of other areas. So yes, you definitely had some increased demand. But you also had that working against. What were some of the other challenges that got in the way of what might have been production-wise during that year?
Well, because of that pent-up demand. So
just overall, like literally, when someone's going, okay, she doubled, but I can't do that. Well, it wasn't all easy. It wasn't smooth sailing.
It wasn't. So what I was going to say is because of that pent-up demand, there were so many buyers out there that in something that I would think is easy to go write an offer on, and I knew what I'm doing, and I've done this a million times, you had to get super creative with how you were writing that offer, the cleanliness of it. And it helped being a seasoned agent because I knew what a seller wants. And then also, having the relationships with the other agents was really helpful. But the challenges were honestly like for us, our inventory was still so low because we are a safe area in the sense of, we're only, 5 or 6 hours from Chicago. Chicago was having riots. So we had a lot of families that used to vacation here that were calling being like, we want a house in Michigan. And we joke candidly that we were selling like safe houses. Yeah. Like that was like our just joke in the offices between agents. Like we're selling another safe house. Like this is crazy. Like people are really feeling uneasy. So there were so many challenges, and it was really, for us, it was based on inventory. I mean, inventory was my largest challenge. And then also educating the buyers, because they had been here 4 years ago and saw what our market was and saw that, normally they could come and look at 3 or 4 homes. Now, they were never going to look at 10 homes with me,
Right.
but 3 or 4, now it was one of those, hey, this is coming. Do you want it? And they had to be ready to pull a trigger very fast. So there was a lot of like educating the buyer on, this is how you have to do it.
Okay. Real quick, we're getting some questions, and I think this is a good point to ask a few of them. How many total transactions did it take for you to get to 40-ish million last year?
About 34. I hover right around that $1 million mark, which I know is something that you and I are going to joke about here, because when I first started with Todd, I said, I want to work not just harder, but smarter about this. Like, there's some higher price point stuff. I really want to get into that market. And I was doing well, but I was really hovering at like that 500 to 600 was my sweet spot. And within a year.
Well, this is not about me at all, but you had said, I want to double my business. And now we're sharing with a bunch of people how you doubled your business, which is amazing. And I know you're going to do it again. And okay, so people can do the math real quick. That's a little over $1 million per transaction average to do 36 deals to get to 38, 39, 40 million in there. Also, people want to know, what is your biggest lead source?
My biggest lead source. I still have to say my number one is referrals.
Okay. And then after referrals,
Jen,
what?
you want to pipe in?
Google.
Yeah, probably like my Google campaign stuff.
Yep. Okay. And then
the dreaded like Z word, because I'm not 100% out. I'm very close, but we still do have some Zillow lead trickles in.
Yep. There's a question here. How are you using Real Geeks? You can answer that.
Okay. So this is going to be probably my favorite question.
Okay.
I am embarrassingly, I'll say my age, I turned 41 on Saturday. And of all of my friends and colleagues, we joke in the office, I am just not techie. Like, I know my skill set. I like to talk. I am a people person. I like to work really hard. I can hustle, but tech is not my jam. I am terrible with social media. It's never been my thing. So how I use the CRM, and this is what's fun for people to hear, so basic. Yep. And I'm excited for the conference. I know I'm like a guest, whatever on it, but I am excited to go learn, because there's 1,000 more things I could be doing. I am not great at workflows. I put my clients in. The number one thing for me that I have gotten out of Real Geeks that I know works is the market reports. So
okay. How do you
the way that I live, if you think of it as like, I live in a city and then I live in a resort gated community within that city. Then you dial it back even more. That gated resort, like when you go to bayharbor.com, it's 5 miles along the water. So it's not small. There's over 600 homes, but there's 33 neighborhoods. So there's golf course condos, there's water view townhouses, there's single family homes, there's a little rental marina area. So there's all these different little niches of neighborhoods. I find that when I meet with my client, whether I buy or sell them, or if it's a friend or anybody that's in that database that lives in this resort, I put them into the CRM and I set them up on like a Bay Harbor market report of the area that they currently live in. So once a month, they'll get a list of everything that has sold, because every client always wants to know like what their neighbor's house sold for.
Nosy neighbors.
Yeah. And honestly, like that's how I use it and feel like the largest benefit is, because I'll be sitting in, I also serve on the board of directors at the yacht club here in the association that I live in. Mm-hmm. And I'll be sitting next to people and they'll be like, oh, you're so good. I just got an email from you. And it's because that market report popped up when something sold, and everyone loves to feel like in the know. And then they talk and then they're like, oh, how did you get that? Oh, Stephanie Jones sent it to me.
Okay.
I mean, I've had people ask me if I could put them on the list, and I've never worked with them.
Let me time out really quickly, because I think this is more powerful than some people are probably going to give you or Real Geeks credit for. By the way, these Keeping It Reals aren't intended to be a commercial for Real Geeks, but Stephanie uses Real Geeks, and also she'll be speaking at the Real Geeks conference in 2 weeks. So if you don't have tickets, you need to go get them, and you need to go to urguc.com, urguc.com. Just Google Real Geeks conference and you'll find it. We're going to run out of tickets any day now. We have not yet launched virtual tickets, but we might. And if we do, it'll be in the next 48 hours, and it's looking likely. But you need to hear more from Stephanie. The thing that I don't think people might have fully appreciated yet is that sounds like it wouldn't help much. Like just setting people up on a market report. I was Facebook messaging with another Real Geeks user just last night who was asking about the event. And they really, to be brutally honest, just weren't satisfied with my answers, because I run my Real Geek site similarly to you, right? I've run it for 13 plus years. We generate multiple millions of dollars in commission income every year. And I'm a big fan of keeping things simple. I always say that my philosophy of business around technology is as simple as it can be, but as complex as it needs to be, right? So we do some smart marketing. I love intricate marketing, but I want it to be as simple. I think simple is beautiful in the sense that it will work, less things break, we can be more consistent. So I'm sure there are people that are like, oh, sure, she sells 40 million in real estate and she just sets up the market reports. So what if you can, and we'll get to some other things you're doing with Real Geeks, but if you can you tell us any more about how that actually leads to business? Now, I know you already started to. They get the report, they tell you they get it, they tell you they see it, they ask you questions, you're capable at following up. But like, is there anything else to that strategy or anything else that happens in the flow?
Yeah, it definitely, there's two things. One, it makes you the expert, because you always want to have the 4 touches a year with your clients. Like if you're sending a holiday card, if you're calling them to congratulate them when they bought it, or what, all this stuff. Okay. But if I'm in their email every month, and like the way that we name them, like it's coming up from me. I don't even know, like maybe there's like an image of me too or something. But if I'm sending them something, not every day, not every week, but once a month, and it's valuable and they're interested in it, because who isn't interested in what your neighbor's house sold for? Because that means how much yours is not worth. I mean, that's an interest.
Yep.
And they also, what I find surprising, because these are super educated people, but a lot of times they think that I have sold every one of those.
Yep.
And it really, kind of elevates me again, and I'm super honest. So like, say I see somebody down the road and they're like, oh my God, that sale was amazing. And most of the time it does come from my own office also, but it's the IDX feed from MLS. It's everything that goes through our MLS is going to show up as a sold in, what I chose for their market report. But I'll say like, oh, that I wasn't actually completely like representing that seller, but blah, blah, blah. And they'll ask me questions about the house. It gets us talking. Right. And then a lot of times they'll give me information that I didn't know they were thinking of. So they'll say like, we love our house, but I loved that house. Let me know if anything else ever comes up available on that street. And then I go back and I change them in the CRM to a search, so that I can set them up on a report for automatic, drips of ones that are in their market. Because when you sell something, you also don't want to like next week hit them with something brand new, right? Because you don't want them to have like buyer's remorse. So I do a little bit of that. Which I know this stuff sounds so basic.
It does, but I love basic. That's what I told. Like, look, business is hard. If you have an opportunity to keep it simple, I think you should. Now, others like at the event, actually, we'll have breakout sessions for beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Mm-hmm. I've been doing this a long time. I'm really happy and comfortable in that intermediate group, right? Like I'm relatively tech savvy. I'm not a super early adopter, but I know I could do more. I don't always want to do more. I want it to work and be dependable and reliable. And that's what you're saying. And that's what I hope people are excited about. So let's just clarify what you just said. you are making sure that everybody is set up on a market report as customized as you can. And then when they give you information about their likes and dislikes and timelines, then you narrow it further. You make sure the report is as specific to them as you can. And
Right.
that's in a smaller market, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people would think it's already close enough because it's a small market, but you're getting down to the street, the neighborhood, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And in your state, you can share sold data, right?
We can.
Yeah. So we can't in Texas, but there's some workarounds if you're in a state where you can't do that. But there was a question that basically said, can you set up the market reports to go out automatically? And the answer is
Mhm.
definitely yes. That's what
That is what attributes this, because when you're selling, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, I'm not doing a huge volume. Like some people on this call are going to laugh.
No.
They're like 30 a year, 40 deals a year. Right. That's why she's a solo agent. Like I get it. It's not a ton of volume, but I am busy. I'm a wife and I have 2 children and my kids are involved in stuff. And I'm on a million different committees and boards throughout my community. So if those weren't automatic, they wouldn't happen for me.
So I think, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so I'd really try to be disciplined where when I meet somebody, if it's, a buyer, I automatically am putting them in. When a lead comes in, it gets automatically dumped into Real Geeks for me because I use the website, but I also use their CRM.
Mhm.
So it gets put in, and that's when you can tweak it and set them up, and then you can forget about it. And then the best part is when they reach out to you and say, hey, I saw that. Can I go see it? Because I can set them up for, the solds or the live actives.
So let me point out one thing, because you're right. You're identifying that some people may be going, oh, well, she's only selling 30 something houses. Yay for her. Look, who freaking cares what those people think? You're built a business that supports the life you want to live. And I think that should be the goal of everyone watching and listening right now, right? People really like to pound their chest and show off their shiny trophies that they sold, 1,000 homes. But by the way, if that's the right model for you, great. There's nothing wrong with that, but we don't all have to do that. That's not my goal either. But what you have figured out is how to be a great wife and mom and community involved person and enjoy the community you live in and stay sane usually. It always gets crazy this is a crazy business,
Yeah.
but do that in a way to make a significant income serving your friends, family, neighbors, community, and some internet leads and out-of-towners and all that stuff. That is the goal. The goal is not total units sold. It's not even total commission income. It's net take-home money and time and energy and impact and purpose and all those things. And that's why I invited you on, because I think you modeled this really well for people that might be distracted right now by chasing more units sold, more GCI, but what they don't have is what you're enjoying, which is net profit, time with family, friends, and neighbors to serve and enjoy. You wrote a best-selling book this year. We don't even have time probably to cover a ton of that, but there's a lot that you're getting to get out of life and give to others because you haven't been distracted by that. Now, it's not about me or our coaching, but you brought it up earlier that was your goal. I want to double my sales volume and commissions without having to kill myself twice as much, right?
Right.
So how did you do that?
Well, I can say that the coaching has definitely helped. And what I'll speak to on that is I think real estate just in general as a profession is super competitive. I come from a group that, I love the people I work with, but if you look at like our MLS, like ranking, the top 2 are my bosses, technically the owners of the company. And then myself, and then a couple other agents in the office are also in the top 10. So they're not necessarily the most like warm and fuzzy and open with sharing their business plans to get you to grow because, like I said, we're a smaller market. It's a niche market. We're kind of all after the same thing. So as much as we're like working as a team for the name, it's not, it's every man for himself, really, is what it is.
And I think the reason I keep reiterating the scale and simplicity of it is because it's working. this isn't a fluke. You didn't just have one good hot post-COVID year. You've had a 5+ year growth trajectory as a Real Geeks user, but even before that. But what I don't want people to miss is that fewer total leads maybe in a smaller market is allowing Stephanie to really work each and every one really well. And you're hearing her say, I go in there and I customize the market report. I go in there, and when a lead gets dropped in, I respond. I go in there.
Oh, and I want to be clear, I'm not perfect at it. There's plenty that do fall through the cracks that I'm embarrassed of, that sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I forgot. There's plenty of that. This just has helped me, as I've grown, stay on top of it 90% of the time. And I'm okay with that, because I can't be perfect. And I used to really pride myself on like very quick response time. I mean, I have my clientele sometimes text me at 10 o'clock at night. And, as much as I'm trying to discipline myself to not, I mean, we still do deals at that time. I mean, I know it, but my market is different. And I've really done a better job at that. But
so that's kind of what I want to get at. Trust me, this is not about me. I'm not trying to make this about our coaching. I just happen to know your story because of that context. So part of your answer to that last question, I think should be, you've been careful with your fees. You've set boundaries with your clients, even though you just proved that they're not always perfect.
They're not.
But I think the point a lot of people could be taking away, and then we'll get to a couple more questions from the audience, but is you're not distracted by 1,000 deals or 1,000 leads. And the benefit of that is you are able to customize market reports and respond when someone is activating something in the database, favoriting or requesting something. And that's what I'm hearing you say about how you use Real Geeks. I'm still kind of finishing the answer to that question, because there's a few of them in the group, but you've got a manageable amount of leads, and you've said you're not 100% perfect, but about 90-ish% of the time, you really are taking great care and responding and customizing. To me, that's a lot of the answer. Do you want to expand on that anymore, and then maybe touch on some of the boundaries stuff and some of the fee stuff without price fixing?
Yeah, sure. So with these like market reports and things that I'm talking about setting up, they also don't take very long. The longest part of what I do is I try to get them on the phone if they're not a referral. And even if they are a referral, I try to get the person on the phone. And I really spend the bulk of my time that I spend is not showing the houses. It's actually talking to them. It's hearing exactly what they want, so that when they are here and we do decide to like pick a time to look at some stuff, we're not wasting their time. We're not wasting my time. They're looking at most likely two things. Most of the time it's one thing right now. But the market report stuff is if you are disciplined about it, it's like less than a couple minutes. And I'm not saying 5 minutes even. I'm saying like, I've gotten, good at it where it's like, and this is how not techie I am. There's like a map part, and I'll have a conversation with a client, and they'll say like, okay, I really want to be in specific area of the ski resort. And I now know how to go on there and do it. As before, I was less techie and I was still just putting the city in, and then I was getting outliers that they didn't want. So being just really specific with it and quick, and then it does the work for you going forward. So that's like the real meat and potatoes of how I'm using it. And there's other little things, but to be honest, it's more just, that's my big piece of how I've been using it. And that's why I'm excited for the conference, because I can't wait to like learn other stuff and really get into workflows and all that good stuff.
So talk just a little bit about how you've grown in your thinking and in your actions with your commissions, and how that's impacted your income.
Yeah. So this is probably the thing I'm the most proud of over the last year and a half. Is I joined the mastermind group with Todd because I really felt like I mentioned, that real estate is competitive. I didn't have I have a couple people in the office that I can go to with like questions and bounce ideas off, but I didn't have anybody that was really necessarily helping me in my business So that group was awesome. And the first thing we talked about was working, smarter and really protecting my commission. And we had numerous conversations about how we do it, because the other players in my market, if you're listing something above $1 million, so our standard is like a 6% commission, 3 to 1 side. That's just not price fixing, but that's like our basics. For everyone to kind of understand the context of what I'm talking about. So above $1 million and definitely above 2 million, when people would list, and these are people within my own office, so this is what was hard for me. They were all listing them at 5%, so offering 2.5 to the other side. And it was frustrating. So when you go into listing appointments, that's like almost what our higher end sellers have been conditioned, that it's a 5% commission. And that was something that I did a really simple exercise with Todd, that it made me literally like hurt my physical being when I did the math. But for anyone listening, I took, what I did at like a 3% versus what I did the year before at 2.5%, because so much of what I sold was being priced there. And it was like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it made me like, it was hard to take. So I went in after a lot of coaching and a lot of these calls with other, top agents around the country telling me like, you're worth it. You're great at your job. But I had to hear it from other people, I think, to really get confident and to get, some role play involved in like practicing what I'm going to say, because some of these guys are tough. They're not selling $10 million houses because they didn't earn that living to be able to buy that. They're like some of the toughest negotiators. And one of my favorite ones was, I was in a consult, essentially trying to get this listing, going up against a couple of really top agents in the area, and I would not budge. And I thought I lost it. I was like, it's going to be 6%. I am so sorry. And I used a line that we had role played about, if I'm going to cave on my own commission that affects my family, how am I going to do when I'm representing your house? When, somebody's trying to come at me with a low ball number, like, how am I going to fight for you essentially if I can't fight for myself? Like, what kind of agent am I? And I got off the phone. I like let him just hear those words, because I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm really sorry. Like, best of luck. And I got off the phone, and it was a listing I really wanted because I had a buyer for it. And I got off the phone, I looked at my husband, and I was like, well, Todd Tramonte, that one. I was mad. And he called me back like 20 minutes later, and he's like, you know what, kiddo? He's like, you're right. If you're going to fight for your own worth, you're better hell fight for mine, because I'm paying you now. Send me that listing at 6%. And it was like, from that moment, something clicked, and I don't give anymore. I mean, I just, unless it's like a real, like, a client where I've done 15 deals with, and I feel like there's a reason for me. I don't have to.
If you want to, not.
I do it if I want to, not because I have to get the listing. That's the piece of it.
Yeah. So for folks that are listening, again, I'm trying. It's not about our coaching, but that's how I know the intricacies of Stephanie's business. But I hope you heard what she just said. Yes, there was exercises, there was coaching, there was accountability, there was community, there was all those things. But the big shift was self-belief, right? So here we go. All commissions are negotiable and not set by law.
Right.
Charge what you're worth, not what other people are charging, blah, 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 blah. So, but what I want you to hear Stephanie saying is, she didn't go jack her commission rate up way higher than everybody in town, although she could, and that may be the next step of growth, is raising it. But what she did was she just stood firm. So if you think about the number of times you may or may not do that, and the difference that it would make to not do that, that's the difference in you always having to go sell more, show more, negotiate more, hold more open houses, all the things that have a higher level of constraint in your business, right? The time it takes to do that, the number of opportunities to do that, the financial cost to create those opportunities, the conversion percentage needed to do that, right? So you keep hearing this theme in Stephanie's business of smaller town, not necessarily as many units as some other people, But you know what you also keep hearing is really good volume, and you don't have to share specific numbers, but a high level of profitability.
Yeah,
That's
so
the goal.
Todd, for that too, one point that I forgot to mention is not only did I double in that 2020 to 2021, but when I held firm on the commission side, I sold less units. It was only a handful, but I think I sold 5 or 6. I don't have them in front of me right now, but 5 or 6 less units. But I made so much more money that year, because if I looked back, I didn't sell one. Oh, I did. There was one in there, and it wasn't my listing. That's why. There was one thing that I was paid 2.5 on a buy side, but everything else was 3 or 3.5, and that was kind of like the theme of the.
Well, and you don't have to share anything you don't want to, but in the background over that couple of year period, there was some difficult life happening, and that you overcame, and were still able to double your top line sales and way more than double your take home income, right? The way you were able to provide for your family in a time of unbelievable challenge when the whole world was going through unbelievable stuff. And then you had extra hard stuff piling on that people don't need to understand, but they need to understand the principle that you take control of your business, your life, your income when you understand your value, believe in yourself. It really ends up not being that hard to get other people to also believe in that. It's certainly harder to sell twice as many homes than it is to get people around you that love you and care for you, that believe in you and help you personally grow. And then that becomes a new bar that you never go back from ever again. Right. So let me just quickly say to everyone watching and listening right now, if you're at a place right now in your business, whether it's because of interest rates or life happening or pandemics or whatever, and you feel like the grind to sell more units, the grind to close more deals feels like an insurmountable task. One path to success, one path to better sleep at night, better provision for your family, is to improve your self-belief, by all means, the value you deliver to your clients, and then make sure you're getting paid appropriately for that.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
We'll talk about this a lot more at the event, and we'll unpack some more of how Stephanie did that. But go ahead, Stephanie.
I was just gonna say, I know what you're talking about, and I don't want to like cry on this stream, but there were 2 years back to back where there were 3 to 4 months I hardly worked.
Yeah.
And when I mean hardly worked, I lost my brother, like tragically. My husband was in a bad accident, and there was a lot of stuff that just, really bogged us down to where like physically couldn't work, because I was, at one of the years I was pregnant and caring for all kinds of stuff just going on. And this group, this really kept us like full steam ahead. And I think that if you also, it comes back to like basics. Like if you really love what you do and you love helping the people and you're passionate about it, like besides the tech, like that's going to shine through. And you just kind of have to like plan, be positive, keep going forward. But if you look at the pieces of your business, like he's talking about with the commissions, like what can you tweak, or where can you spend your money differently? What's the best return? You have to really value your own time to get there. And that's what we really are trying to focus on is, this life work balance that everyone tries for. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and say like I'm perfect at it, because I am not. Like I do answer the phone late at night sometimes, but there are some times where I'm like, nope, that's going to wait till the morning. So it's just, it's a balancing act.
I appreciate you pointing that out, because these are about sharing value. And obviously you're willing to even just mention some of the unbelievably difficult things you went through. But what I want people to understand, and they're understanding it. Claude just said, I love that explanation. Wow, she's a beast in the good sense of the word. But people are loving your willingness to share. But I think the big takeaway for people is you don't have to overcomplicate this. And there's a lot that we could work on, right? There's millions of things we could spend time, energy, reading, learning,
I
watching.
have a list a mile long of stuff that I want to implement.
But what you're sharing is you found some of the most leveraged things to work on that would make the most impact with the least effort. Now, that doesn't mean it wasn't hard work and that personal growth isn't some of the hardest work we do, but I'll take that over 400 more open houses, 27,000 more cold calls, right? Having to pay for, generate, follow up on, and try to convert 800 leads a week instead of finding the most efficient way, maybe smaller numbers, but being really responsive, building great relationships, using the technology as much as you need to, but not having to worry about 1,000 other features that might just get in the way. They're there for the people that really want to do that, but you can do really well without that. And don't you dare think it's easy for Stephanie to sell, 20, 30, 40 homes at $1 million plus in her market. There are sharks in her market, in her office, on the other side of that wall, probably. Like, this is not someone who got lucky in a high price point market. That almost doesn't exist anywhere. And this one is really, really challenging. But I know you won't say that to people, and I wanted to say it, but there are a few more questions. If you don't mind, we'll try to go kind of quick.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. How do you handle a brand new lead? Phone call, drip, LP mama, bomb, other, like, what do you do when a new Real Geeks lead buzzes your phone or hits your email?
Okay, so this is something that I am currently also trying to tweak, but when it first comes in, we do have like an automatic response that, says like, hi, this is Stephanie Jones, Northern Michigan real estate expert.
Is that
blah,
email
blah.
or text?
Text.
Okay, so you use the auto text with the evergreen, hey, it's me message. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it's me message. If I get them talking and I can see it, I'm going to jump in and completely take over and try to set an appointment.
So you're keeping your eye on that throughout the day, generally speaking?
Yeah, I am keeping my eye on it. So if I see it, sometimes I don't get a response though for like 5 hours, sometimes I'm not seeing it and I'm, who knows what.
Right.
But yeah, so the texting works the best. Then you can kind of like ask a couple of questions, get them on the phone. That is like when I have somebody live texting me, my immediate thing is like, when can I get them to pick up the phone? So I try to do it then, like, do you have a minute to chat? Can we call you? So I set the appointment to talk to them. And then I spend like 15 to 30, depending on if they're really talkative, and finding out and that's it. That's how simple it is.
Okay, real quick, just to clarify for people, when they register on your site, what do you have set up?
So I only allow them to see one house? Yeah. One house.
We have one house before forced registration, which I totally agree with.
Correct.
Is there any other drip campaigns or videos or anything that goes out automatically other than your text?
Welcome email.
Like one welcome email.
Welcome email and automated text. Okay.
And that's it.
Don't be embarrassed. Don't hide.
No, I mean, that's like,
it's
I
working.
would love, I know. And I would love, my thing is, I know it could be better. Like, I know I could do this better. That's like not how my brain works.
But look, I appreciate you because you're generous and kind and thoughtful and wonderful and humble, but it's working. So you don't need to kind of cower and bow.
Yeah, no, it is working.
So many people spending hours and hours and hours trying to set up 57,000 step automated.
Get them on the phone.
And you're just talking about, I use the technology to set me up to go and build relationships.
Yeah.
And some of them fall through the cracks, and sometimes I'm quicker, but I generally have the right amount to keep focused on to go and make a lot of money and spend time with my family and friends. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, real quick. Are there drip campaigns? Okay, so you're not doing any super long-term drip campaigns, except they're getting the automated house emails and they're getting the market reports.
Correct.
So those are two long-term, seemingly never-ending drip campaigns. Okay. Commission comments. She's a beast. Okay. So I think we're caught up. What else do you want to share with people that I have not asked you about?
What else do I want to share? We're talking about it, but like, keep it simple. Talk to the people. And I think that I don't care what market you're in. I'm in a small market. So yeah, for Dallas, it's probably not like the easiest because you're big and you're probably not going to sell with the same 5 realtors all the time. But I would say I sell with, there's probably 10 that are constants for me.
I think
And
we
I
have
would,
over 40,000 licenses.
I know. So for me, and for anyone else that's in a smaller area, I think that your relationships, not just with your clients, but with other agents, are extremely important to maintain. I really do. There have been time and time again that agents have thanked me and said, like, honestly, we chose your offer because of you, because I'd rather do a deal with you than, anyone. I mean, it could just be an agent that isn't, in the market.
Let me brag on you for a second, just so people know why they really need to be at the Unofficial Real Geeks User Conference to hear you speak again. Because the next time we're going to do a deeper dive on some of the other things that happen in Stephanie's business, so you can borrow her knowledge and go build success. Real quick shout out. Look at there. Boom, boom. Stephanie Jones, best-selling book. Every single person that attends the Unofficial Real Geeks User Conference will get a copy of this book. Stephanie and many other really amazing authors. And if you don't have a ticket, you should go get one right now at urguc.com. urguc.com. That's just short for Unofficial Real Geeks User Conference. Day 2 at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon-ish, something like that. Stephanie will be interviewed similar to today, but on a more granular level on some of the other aspects of her business and how she's able to be a mom, be a wife, be involved in her community, enjoy the community that she lives in, stay upright, and still do tens of millions of dollars in real estate sales with a very high profit margin. And honestly, I'll let you filter this, but in a dog-eat-dog market where there's a handful of men that have been doing it for a very long time, you said it earlier, what do they call you? Darling or sweetie or kiddo? Kiddo. They call you kiddo. Yeah. But the point is, you want to learn from this woman. She's incredible. She's a gift to me as a friend and in our community, and she's a gift to you. Hopefully you've taken some notes here. I don't want anyone to walk away from this thinking, oh, that was really basic. I want you to think that was amazingly simple. Like, she just loves people and cares for people, but she does have some systems. They're just not overwhelmingly 3,000 steps, right? Whatever it takes to use technology and systems and lead gen and marketing and billboards, she does all sorts of cool stuff, but it's almost all intended to get on the phone or get face-to-face, build trust, and have enough people to do a great business, but not so many that you can't care for them on an individual level. Does that feel like an accurate label?
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody did ask how much like video I'm doing and if I put that in there.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't yet. I did do like the bonbon for a while. It wasn't really my thing because, to be honest, I'm on the go so much. I couldn't be religious about like, I'm going to film this and it's going to go out in all these emails. I didn't get there. I'd love to. But I will tell people that if you have the time to do it, so if it's a market where inventory is lower and you do have the time to be filming content like that, I will say every time I post myself on any social media platform or anything, people are attracted to that. People feel like they're a part of my life. I mean, my husband posted a picture of me like moving boxes for a client. Like literally I was unloading a storage unit to get this deal to close because it was a huge deal. I was not happy. It was like raining, and that's not the message I want to send, that I'm going to be a mover too by any means. But it was just like, he made some comment like slinging boxes in Bay Harbor or something funny, and you wouldn't imagine how many people that are past clients of mine reached out and were like, you go, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing that. Or like, we need to talk. So anytime you have an opportunity to post something that's authentic, not just created content, but like it's actually part of your life, I would encourage you to do it. And if you are really good at the video stuff and, putting it in the emails and setting that up, go for it. People love to see you.
I think what people are hopefully taking away also is that obviously Stephanie's really relational. And so she loves that. And she's intrigued by content in the sense that it helps you build relationship, right? So I love that. And we have 2 separate sessions at the conference that are talking about, how we can use content to build those relationships. Couple quick questions that you might have seen, but is there a difference in handling someone who registers on the site, no search, it says, versus setting them up a search and using the website frequently?
I don't handle them any different. It's sometimes a challenge if they have put in 0 when they just, sign up, but I would say most of mine do. And then it's just me pounding them to get on a call to find out how I then set them up for something that would be automated, but I don't handle it any differently.
Love that answer.
And then also if somebody says I see somebody says I'm just looking,
yep,
or I'm working with somebody else, I always put some kind of generic thing like, well, thanks for using my website. I hope you enjoy it. If there's any questions, I'm here.
Yep. And if you have the right amount of leads, you can do that and let them nurture over time. How often do you reach out to a lead if they say they're just looking? So is that, you just answered it, but what I want to reiterate for people is you're allowing them to work at their own pace because you have plenty of business and you don't need to pressure them and obsess over it. But other than those automated market report and property updates, do you call them again, or do you truly just wait for them?
No, I would try. My honest answer is yes, I try to. But honestly, if I don't have anything from them, then sometimes it's hard to set them up. So I'll look back and say okay, well, what did they come into my website from? Was it a Google thing? Were they shopping a specific area? So then I just set up a generic one for them, right, so that I'm, monthly in touch with them or something like that. Because the beauty of all of this is I know the numbers I need to hit to live my life. Right. Yes, I want to be selling 80 million, but I don't want to be selling 80 million in 150 units. So if they don't need me, I'm kind of I'll move on to that, the buyer that's ready and willing, because that's where my time is valuable right now. I'm not ignoring them. I don't want anyone to think that I'm just I don't need you, but I don't have to spend my hours clicking away, trying to beg somebody to give me their business that doesn't want to work with me right now.
Amen to that, sister. Now, there probably are some people here that are it works for you in your market. But the point is, we didn't have time to cover it all, of course. Come to the event. You can hear the nitty gritty, and there's a recording, blah, blah, blah. But I hope what people are hearing is you've decided the life you want to live, and you're building a business to support that life. Now, the 2 things aren't totally separate. You're enjoying the life in your business. Like you said earlier, you love what you do, and you're getting to serve people and use your gifts and all those things. But it's also, if I had to put a 1-word theme on your interview today, it's this idea of balance or efficiency, right? Could you do what you do if you generated 1,000 leads a month?
I mean, no, there are some months that comes in. They just don't all get my attention either. Right. That's the thing. And that's what I think as agents, we have to cut ourselves some slack, because when they're coming in, I used to feel oh my God, they're going to be so mad I didn't respond to them. They actually don't even know who I am.
Right.
And it's stuff that you have to just let go. You can only serve so much. You can only help so many. And if you just do the job the best you can every single time, your business will start to double because you're doing such a great job for the client. And it's all about really, those relationships moving forward.
But I think the point you're illustrating again and again and again and again that I really hope is seared into the brains of our listeners and our viewers is, what you need to live the life you want to live. And that's the way you approach the business, right? So you're not trying to chase every single lead. You're not trying to sell every potential buyer. You're working with the most ideal clients you can, the most ready and available ones, the people you can help the most, the most reasonable. And you're not just spinning your wheels with a lot of extra grind and activity. Now you're working very hard. That's for sure. But go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is I think that's something that did change in my business. For a while, it was more of I really love real estate. And I don't want to say it was a hobby because I never took this as a hobby. I really didn't. But it was one of those things where when you had said to me, how much do you need to make for your whole future, the whole grand scheme, it's a business. And a lot of, real estate agents or real estate brokers, they don't look at their actual sales as a business. And I think if whoever is listening to this, if you back it out and say, this is how much money I want to make. This is how much money I need to make. And you back those numbers out and figure out, in order to get, this many homes sold at this price point, I need to do this, this, and this. And you put a plan together, it becomes a lot more manageable.
Amen. Amen. I think that's a great place to wrap it up.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We'll take.
I hope I answered everyone's questions. I know I'm a talker. That's why I'm in sales, but I was trying to read them and stay on there. So
I think we got most of them. And if anyone does have a question that we didn't get,
they can reach out to me. I mean, they can, yeah.
That's what I was going to say. So how can people reach you? Someone asked earlier what your website was.
Yeah. So my website is jonesnorth.com.
Or StephanieJonesFineHomes.com, but that's a side.
Or that's there too. I'm not used to saying that yet. And then my email. I mean, it's Stephanie@jonesnorth.com. So honestly, I come from a place of wanting to help others. I don't have a team or anything, so I'm not in that position of helping agents. But if anyone has questions, feel free to reach out. I'm always open for, a conversation or to help anyone else. Because I feel so blessed that your group has helped me and made my life grow.
Beautiful. There's also one other place you could get more information from Stephanie, and that's if you go to the user conference, which
come see me.
A couple of weeks away. If you're catching this after the user conference has already happened, reach out to us for tickets for next year, or maybe access to potentially we'll have.
And I want to plug that one more. I want to say one more thing about that. You don't have to be a Real Geeks user to come to this conference. Yeah. I think that even if you said I love Follow Up Boss, I'm going to be a Follow Up Boss forever, or whoever it is. Okay. I still think you could sit in that room and have pages of notes of takeaways. You don't have to, but they do a great website, and I do love their CRM. Yeah. But I think it's super valuable if anyone is sitting here saying well, I just dumped all my leads into this, and now I'm, you don't have to change.
I couldn't say it any better. So I'll just say this. If you liked the story of Stephanie's growth and her passion for the business and serving others, she'll be speaking again, and we'll get into some more of the nitty gritty of her story, as well as a bunch of other information at this conference on how to grow, whether you're a solo agent, team, brokerage, whether you're looking to build and grow for significance or increased income, or you're focused on net profit and commissions and listings or buyers, it doesn't matter. We're going to cover nearly the full gamut. And it's going to be an incredible 3 days of some Real Geeks talk, some business talk, some personal growth, cocktail parties, lunches, dinners, breakfast. It's going to be a really great time. If you struggle with even the slightest bit of FOMO, you need to get your ticket right now. urguc.com. And thank you so much, Stephanie. And we appreciate Real Geeks for hosting these and kind of creating the space for us to do this. If I can ever help you with anything, same as Stephanie, just email me, Todd@toddtramonte.com. I'm pretty easy to find online, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.